welcome to this Brandverse special. I'm Shibani Gharat. If you think your food on your plate is healthy, the snack in your pantry is exactly what it claims to be, think again. Over the past 3 months, Indian food safety has witnessed an absolute earthquake. From May to July 2026, the apex regulator FSSAI alongside the Maharashtra FDA unleashed a massive, aggressive summer enforcement blitz. The targets everything from unhygienic legacy eateries to the deceptive marketing practice known as health washing. In Mumbai, no one was too big to escape the iconic institutions like the 110-year-old Parsi dairy farm and ice cream legend K. Rustam were caught in a dragnet and temporarily shut down over severe hygiene lapses. We are talking pest infestations, missing expiry dates, low milk fat. But the crackdowns didn't stop at greasy kitchens. The regulator pivoted hard towards the boardroom, taking on high-profile FMCG clean label startups and global energy drink giants who used misleading buzzwords to mask high sugar, high caffeine or standard addictive profiles. First up came the clean label strike. It happened in late May 2026. The target, the whole truth. The issue, FSSAI serves a major show cause notice over no added sugar packaging claims on products heavily sweetened with dates. The outcome, the brand forced to drop the label and transition packaging language to sweetened with dates. This sets a massive precedent for the entire food startup ecosystem. Then the FMCG labeling sweep came in June 21st to 23rd, 2026. Target was 14 plus major wellness and food brands. The issue, a massive cross-brand wave of notices hitting players like Marico for Saffola Total, Raw Pressery, Ferrero and Bikaner Wala for unbacked wellness tags like heart friendly or 100% natural. The penalty, the Central Consumer Protection Authority, which is the CCPA, joins the hunt, slapping fines like a 1 lakh rupees penalty on Storia Foods for false 100% claims. Then came the energy drink blitz. It happened from July 1st to 3rd. The target was, of course, the likes of Red Bull, Sting, Monster, Campa Energy, Hell Energy. The issue was FSSAI clarifies that Indian food laws do not officially recognize the standard energy drink, exposing a legal classification loophole. The mandate banned the therapeutic and cognitive performance claims like vitalizes body and mind or enhances focus unless mathematically proven. Then came the quick commerce or Q-commerce and hospitality shutdown, which happened from mid-July. Target was, of course, Swiggy, Instamart and Mumbai's legacy eateries. The delivery front, in fact, Swiggy Instamart is slapped with 9 formal notices over expired protein supplements and contaminated dark store items. On the hospitality front, Maharashtra FDA executes zero tolerance shutdown on Mumbai's legacy icons like K. Rustam Parsi Dairy Farm, Shalimar and Noor Mohammadi for severe kitchen and hygiene issues. We are joined in by Pradeep Chakraborty, former director FSSAI, and along with him, he is an advocate of sorts and a big sensation on social media platforms as well. We have Revant Himatsingka. He is a food farmer and also the change maker health advocate. Thank you so much for joining us today on ET Now. First up, over to you, Mr. Chakraborty. Help us understand why are these back-to-back questioning and raids happening over the past couple of weeks, and especially FSSAI has become so aggressive over the past couple of weeks. As someone who has been a part of it, help us understand this.
The enforcement lies with both the state and central food safety authority. So, and it is not that earlier also we did not do any enforcement. You can remember in 2015 we banned Nestle's Maggi noodles, and that time I was also associated with that. And 6 months their plants, 6 plants were shut down. So it is not that we did not do any enforcement earlier, and we have also a national surveillance policy which is applicable throughout the year actually. So it is not that, but last 2-3 years actually enforcement was a little bit slow. So that's why actually, and we have received a lot of complaints, particularly this e-commerce platforms also. There is report that they are selling unsafe food. Unsafe food is really dangerous, and we have to stop it at any cost. So that's why actually enforcement has been done, and we have received a lot of things. And misleading advertisements also. We have claims and advertisement regulations of FSSAI. As per that regulation, actually pure and then natural or organic. Organic is there because if you do organic farming and do it in organic, do it under the surveillance of under the supervision of organic certifying agency, then you can NPOP we call it. So you can do that. But a lot of things pure, everything pure, and then natural, and then this 100%. These are actually banned by our claims and advertisement regulations. Even in spite of that, actually, so many companies are using this healthy also. Every food product must be formulated in such a way that it imparts good effect on health. So these are the things actually which has not been taken care of by the industry for the last few years, and now actually a lot of enforcement activities are being done both by the state and as well as central food safety authority. We have central food safety officer as well as
Absolutely.
state food safety
Yes.
officer.
Yes, absolutely. Let's quickly go over to the food farmer who's extensively, in fact, questioned the labels. Now, Revant, help us understand, will brands have to completely rethink their product labels going forward? Because, questions are being raised on terms such as energy drinks, for that matter.
100%. All brands are already reviewing all their labels. Some of them are already regretting making certain strong claims which they cannot back it up. And I'm sure that going forward, any new launches they do, they'll be extremely careful. Many brands have, in the last 20, 30, 40 years, gotten away with using words like taller. We all know that they don't make you taller. So I'm sure that when they launch a new product, they will not use claims like taller. In fact, I'm very confident that in the next few months, if not years, they may drop some of these claims. And many of these companies take advantage of the innocent public. For example, the word energy. Many of the public thinks that energy is a positive word. So they use energy drink because energy just sounds very positive. Similarly, glucose drinks and many other drinks like so I'm sure that many of these companies will rethink some of their marketing claims. I have seen a particular sharbat was using no fat in their packaging, and actually it's because they use 100% sugar, and sugar is a carbohydrate, not a fat. So they were getting away with these kind of claims, and I'm very happy that FSSAI is cracking down on some of these brands, and I'm sure this will create a ripple effect.
Right. Let's go on to, FSSAI challenging the term energy drink, which in fact, Revant just picked up this topic. And go over to you, Mr. Chakraborty. Now, energy drinks have been present in the market for past many years. Why is FSSAI challenging this term energy drink now? In fact, globally, if you remember, Red Bull had to fight a case against a consumer when he said that, I bought it because they claimed to give me wings and I didn't get any wings out of it. It was a big case which was fought globally. And now, the term energy drink is questioned in the India market. Help us understand why the challenge, why is FSSAI challenging this term now?
Red Bull energy drink was issued NOC by me only during my tenure in 2012.
Right.
So at the time, actually, there was no standards for energy drinks. We have an expert group actually formulated framed within with some experts, and they have recommended the necessary composition, ingredients and other things also up to a certain limit. And energy drinks and caffeinated beverages both are synonymous actually in that report. And on the basis of that, actually, we have issued caffeinated Red Bull energy drinks, the NOC, and they are working on it. They have lodged a big issue actually in the court, and their justification is actually caffeinated beverages contains caffeine. So caffeine at high dose, from 145 ppm to 300 ppm, and this 1 cup of coffee, 60 ml coffee contains 80 milligram caffeine. And if we consume 4 cups coffee in a day, then we are actually consuming 320 milligram caffeine per day. So accordingly, it was cleared by the court also that yes, it is not harmful because they are within the permissible limit. So 300 ppm caffeinated beverages were permitted for caffeinated for this energy drinks or caffeinated beverages. Moreover, USFD actually consider a caffeinated beverage in both the categories. One is this caffeinated beverage, and another is dietary supplements. So they are also, and FSSAI also used that the same clarification, and we have issued this. But now this question is actually not only Red Bull, this other energy drinks also.
All the other brands as well, of course. All the other brands are also questioned, including across other, other beverage and FMCG companies, including the likes of PepsiCo. Yes.
So these 6 companies, actually, I think 6 companies have been issued notice by the FSSAI. Day before yesterday, I was in FDA Bhavan and I discussed with some of the senior officers of the FSSAI. I do not want to name them. But they are also a little bit confused because this energy drinks or caffeinated beverages, that was the term used in the expert group recommendations. So accordingly, we have also allowed energy drinks or caffeinated beverages. Now this somebody has a question that either you use caffeinated beverage or energy drinks, because if it contains caffeine from 145 ppm to 300 ppm, you have to mention it as a caffeinated beverage, and if it is sugary drinks or
Mr. Chakraborty, stay with us on that thought. I'm curious to know now, like, why is this action reactive and not proactive? Like, when they're coming up for licensing or to get these licenses to launch these products in the market, why can't there be questions raised at that point in time, and then after, it reaches the consumer, there are questions asked? If you can help us understand, where is the bottleneck over here?
So on the basis of this caffeinated beverages regulations, actually FSSAI also issued license, and it is in vogue for the last few years. Now actually somebody has raised the query that whether it can be allowed as a caffeinated beverage as well as energy drinks. So it is a confusion in FSSAI as well as in the among the food business operators, particularly importers, because these are mostly imported from Austria. This Red Bull is imported from Austria, and this Monster energy drinks is imported from USA. So they have no doubt actually. But in FSSAI, somebody raised this issue, and the media also created some havoc. So that's why actually FSSAI also in the also taken some steps actually, and they have issued the notice that you can use the term caffeinated beverages only, not energy drinks, but it is actually same.
Right. Let's go over to you, Revant. Another issue that was raised during the past couple of weeks and past 2 months has been, the whole issue around the whole truth And in fact, the founder came and gave an explainer about Whole Truth on how there is no added sugar. Now, help us understand and dissect some of these claims, because after that, after a few weeks, in fact, FSSAI mandated to use the phrase sweetened by dates on the product. So help us understand, how does this labeling really work over here?
In that particular case, I'm not as well aware about the Whole Truths case, but in the other things that Mr. Pradeep was saying, I do agree with whatever he was saying, and I want to add one more point regarding that energy drinks. One of the issues is that a lot of kids have energy drinks, and they in the packs itself of the energy drinks is written not recommended for children, but they often are marketed to children. And one of the biggest consumers of the energy drinks are children. So that is a very big issue which needs to be discussed, that children are having energy drinks right before their exams, and they're pulling all-nighters. During the exam, they're taking it in their bottles. So people are thinking it's great for concentration, focus, and they're like over-consuming it. And in the bottle, it's written not recommended for children. So how do we prevent this from happening? How do we prevent energy drinks from using Bollywood actors and cricketers and all of that to market it to children? I think that's also another issue we need to talk about.
Now we are joined in by someone who is leading industry's efforts towards responsible advertising and tackle any kind of misleading claims across sectors, including food and beverages. We are joined in by Manisha Kapoor, Secretary General and CEO of Advertising Standards Council of India. Thank you so much for joining us on ET Now. Manisha, help us understand, the kind of action that we have seen from FSSAI over the past couple of weeks itself, starting April, May, up till now, and we are just in July. Help us understand this kind of back-to-back action that, we have never seen from, the food and beverage regulator in the country.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is quite welcome. Of course, one hopes that, this is not just a single kind of incident or a single episode, and that we do see continuous action if the regulator feels that there are brands or organizations that are in violation of its rules. It needs to be a year-long kind of exercise. I think the other thing that would help is, so the rules are kind of there, and some of the action that has been taken seem to be kind of a little different from the industry practice that has been established over a certain period of time. So the question could be, why now and why not earlier? But I think, if this brings a certain clarity in terms of what the regulator expects and what is kosher by it and not, I think that clarity would be welcome, so that, at least players who are interested in being on the right side of the law have a very clear direction and a very clear sense of what they can or can't do.
Right. So again, you gave me a great segue for my next question, and you also asked the same question, why now? Is it because we have seen a tremendous growth in some of these Q-commerce platforms, and also that increases consumer access to many of the products which were not earlier available as well?
I think it's that, but also several other things. Overall, there seems to be a greater consumer understanding and a desire to know what's going into their food, what they're eating. There is certainly a lot of action in the environment from many, many different players in terms of educating consumers, in terms of asking consumers to be more aware of what they're eating. So I think there is a consumer momentum as well that is at the back of it. And I think worldwide, certainly the food industry is under a lot of scrutiny and pressure, and that's not unique just to India.
Yeah, just in ASCI itself, help us understand what are the kind of complaints that you get when it comes to specifically the food and beverages, that have some misleading claims, probably month on month, and where does it fare in, the larger list of, the names that come up? I know that education and healthcare are some of the sectors that feature on the regular basis, but what about food and beverages? What about F&B?
F&B is also typically usually in our top 5 sectors, and we've seen that also consistently over the past few years. Of course, it is a big sector, so you have a lot of advertising that happens in the sector. One of the new things we've seen in the sector over the last couple of years is the entry of nutraceuticals, because nutraceuticals is also classified as a food by FSSAI, and we see a lot of claims around nutrition, which is very, very specific to the nutraceutical kind of world in terms of claims that are being made on health, on the kind of nutrition value that these products are providing, and also what gains they lead to, so what can you expect when you have a certain nutraceutical product. So we are seeing a lot of issues around that, particularly, creeping up in the last couple of years. But even the more traditional food categories, we continue to see some amount of misleading claims. But I would say in the last 3 or 4 years, the nature of claims has really moved towards the health sector in a way.
Yeah.
So we do see claims which are around food, but in and around the health area.
In and around the health area. So to speak, there is a lot of health washing, that is happening in the past couple of years. And also with, the increased in intake, intake of protein for that matter, and the claims around protein coffee and protein milk, and, everything has a protein in it these days. So what about those claims? And do we see now, that, FSSAI has taken a stricter action in, again, some of these companies which dwell in this space? So do we see that, the claims, some of these health claims are bound to go down in the coming days? Will that impact, the defaulters to be more cautious?
I don't think health claims per se will go down, because there is clearly a lot of consumer interest in the health sector. But what one should hope is that the claims become much more robust, that they are created on the back of actual science.
Right.
And also that in their communication and in their branding and marketing practices, they don't create an impression which they can't fulfill.
Sure.
So I think those are the guardrails that need to be there around any kind of food advertising, but particularly around health, because it addresses a certain vulnerability of consumers, but also because that's also the direction that consumers are seeking products in. So like I said, I don't think it's going to go down,
Sure.
But we hope that, with the right kind of regulation, with the right kind of self-regulation, that the claims become more robust.
Specifically, if I may ask, what do you think of the whole truth story and example where, the whole truth was picked up for no added sugar claim, both, in their content and advertising, and then FSSAI mandated them to use sweetened by dates on some of their products?
Yeah. So I think this is again an evolution of consumer communication. I think when we were looking at COVID, for example, and someone said germ-free, we kind of all assumed that, that was okay. And then when COVID hit, we said, no, you can't just say germ-free. You actually have to be more specific on whether it addresses the coronavirus or not. And I think it's the same evolution in food, where earlier we would, or a lot of brands would speak more generically. Today, the consumers want to know very specific information, and I think the brands are now kind of bound to provide that more specific information. And I think the example that you've given is another kind of example, where earlier, you could be technically right, but now what are the consumers expecting out of that? Is saying that there is some amount of sugar, but its source is different. And I think, clarity on that would help the consumers and also help the brand be more clear about what it's communicating.
And do you feel brands still continue to push that boundary when it comes to marketing and take that, creative liberty here and there when it comes to some of these claims?
I think, yes, they do. And but I think increasingly there is scrutiny of that, and there is consumer backlash that may come. So I think the brands would do well to recognize that, there is a lot of spotlight on what they are saying, particularly food brands. and therefore, would they risk that kind of backlash or being called out by, some of the consumer activists or being picked up by the regulator, I think is what they need to assess. But